Albano.
So now they have a veteran talent like Cam Newton, and they have a young rookie like Mac Jones, who they didn't even need to trade up for. And they're going to get most of their defense back after most of the defense opted out in 2020.
Nick Morganson. OBJ is turning into Ocho Cinco on the field when it comes to antics. And he's a good football player, but he's got a lot of antics. I could see if he trade, maybe Green Bay says, oh, maybe we can rekindle the light if we made that trade. And Nick Federa.
I've never seen a quarterback actually use Jeopardy as a bargaining chip. I mean, what kind of weird reality are we living in where that's an actual viable option?
Empty the bench starts now. It's like taking a kielbasa and shoving it up the Packers management's ass.
Well, that's the way to start the show. Welcome everyone to episode 84 of Empty the Bench. Nick Morganson, Nick Federa, Anton Albano. Gentlemen, I think actually, Nick Morganson, I have to credit you for that intro because you used a few quotes in that intro from that one to Nick Federa's quote. And even your quote when you're mentioning Ocho Cinco all kind of relate to today's episode.
I tried. Trick, I'm going to shove a kielbasa. Would you like to find out where?
Well, you'll find out next week on Empty the Bench because we have plenty of stuff we got to get to this week. Plenty of stuff that we got to get to this week, or we're going to be canceled. One or the other. I don't know.
Hey, don't say that too loud. It might actually happen.
So I think it's kind of appropriate. Let me quickly go over some stuff we got to talk about because we're going to talk about the whole craziness that involves the Mets and the craziness that involves the Rangers. We'll talk about Albert Pujols being released, and you mentioned Ocho Cinco in your one of the quotes, and we'll get to that. It doesn't relate to OBJ, more so it relates to Ocho Cinco. He's in the news again. But first of all, obviously twitch.tv/GTP Sports. We're live every week, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific. Please give a follow. Please give a subscription. Tune in. And we appreciate all the conversation, all the interaction that we can have on here on Twitch. So let's get into it, guys. Let's start with the latest update on the Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers soap opera, if you will.
All right. Can I say one thing? So it came out over the past couple of days that Adam Schefter is under fire for when he released the actual news on draft day.
Oh, he basically admitted that he waited until draft day to drop the bomb.
He went on the Dan Patrick show. I don't know if you guys saw the clip where he basically said, well, I could have released this whenever. Well, Dan Patrick said to him, well, why did you wait until draft day to do it when everything was going on? And he just said it. There's no sources. There's nothing. I just had the news. And I'm just like, well.
Yeah, he did that on purpose.
Of course he did it on purpose.
I was going to say, if you want my opinion, I think this is a thing. I mean, just thinking about it right now in this moment, I think ESPN may have had a role in it. They wanted kind of a. Yeah.
Yeah, but what are they getting out of it, though?
They got the highest rated draft and
they got eyeballs on screens, didn't they?
Yeah,
the highest rated draft in how long now?
Yeah, but who cares? Who gives a crap about the ratings? I don't.
But including this pair of 8 eyeballs we had, actually 6. I'm not gonna care. But we were watching it, so they got us. So we're kind of proving a point.
Actually.
No, am I wrong?
Actually, there's a correction here. It's 10. You two are wearing glasses.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hey, 4 eyes. Leave us out of it.
Yeah. 10 eyes.
I technically I should be wearing my glasses too, but
so 12.
Fair, very fair.
Hey, speaking of number 12.
Yes. Very appropriate. So it turns out that there was a firing within the Green Bay organization. That there was a report this week that a firing in the Green Bay organization, somebody that Aaron Rodgers was close to in the front office, kind of, what was it, the straw that broke the camel's back?
Well, wasn't there a report that he was trying to get the GM, I think Murphy, right? He was trying to get him fired, or he wanted him fired, and He wants all this.
Which didn't he just come in like a year or two ago?
I think it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You know what? And I'm tired of this whole thing where the quarterback in the NFL or the star player pitcher in Major League Baseball or Francisco Lindor in the Mets, which we'll get to, or I don't know, take your pick at this point. Let's stop giving the stars the power. This is what I said in last week's intro. Stop.
But I think in the NFL, you really don't see stars having the power.
You really don't.
I think we even talked about this on like draft night or last week's episode that there's very few people in the NFL that might have LeBron James style power, and I guess Aaron Rodgers is kind of one of them. When you consider like the last drama that happened, Mike McCarthy ended up fired from the Packers, now with the Cowboys, and I think as much as I don't like how Schefter kind of sat on it and ESPN kind of waited till draft day. I guess I'm kind of not surprised because it goes back to what we said in that when doesn't Aaron Rodgers have a problem with the Packers in the offseason? It's a cycle. It's a cycle. It seems like every offseason something comes up.
Yes, something comes up, whether it's a problem with the coaching, whether it's a problem with he doesn't agree with personnel decisions,
or he's mad at management for not getting him weapons that he needs,
or even drafting, as we saw with Jordan Love about a year or so ago.
Yeah, but he's not the only star that we've seen do this over the years.
I would say the only three I can think of off the bat that have that kind of LeBron James-esque, the league, shifts around them is
Rodgers, Brady,
and maybe Russell Wilson.
I don't know about Russell Wilson.
No, Russell Wilson.
In terms of the Seahawks, yes.
In terms of the Seahawks, yes.
We've seen stars have their issues. We've seen Aaron Rodgers have his issues.
That organizational cachet, quote unquote.
And by the way, Tom Brady wasn't really technically having issues. I think he was just looking for a change of scenery at this point, and that's why
he kept it on the down low.
But you know what? It kind of worked out for Brady.
Yeah, it worked.
And by the way,
and I said last week that this is what Rodgers wants to do. He wants to be able to plug and play wherever he goes.
And that's why I made the statement, and thank you to everybody who watched the clip. It was close to 600 views on Twitter that we got from it, where I said he should go to the Cleveland Browns. It's a great trade for both sides. Green Bay gets Baker and OBJ, and Cleveland gets Aaron Rodgers, and then they're instantly contenders.
One thing that I mean, but first of all, is Aaron Rodgers going to be happy with just Jarvis Landry and Rashard Higgins as wide receivers? I doubt it. I mean, he's going to be losing Devontae Adams, who is arguably the best receiver in the league, maybe second best considering.
I get it, but at the same time, it's just like.
Also, OBJ is going to be pissed because remember, we've decided that OBJ, he wants to be both a number one and a contender. He doesn't want one or either. And over there, I'm sorry, I don't hate OBJ like you do, Nick. I don't have that love for OBJ like you do, Nick Federa. I would pick Devontae Adams over Odell Beckham Jr. 100 times over 100. I think Devontae Adams, like I said, he is the number 2 receiver in the league. I think with all the tricks and stuff OBJ can do, I think Devontae Adams could do them just as well, if not better.
The two of you, though, are working under the assumption that he's not going to be in the driver's seat the entire time.
But there's the thing.
I think the teams that Schefter, mentioned are the ones he wants to go to.
Yes, San Fran, Denver, and Oakland. He wants to go out west, which kind of understandable. But again, at the same rate,
he's from California. Of course, he wants to go out west.
But again, I don't know. The Packers are going to want a significant haul for him, even at his advanced age.
But unfortunately, he's not worth the significant haul that they're asking for.
Okay, then
you don't think so, but I can guarantee you I can come up with at least 15, maybe even 16 GMs that would pull the trigger on that trade in a heartbeat.
He's 37 years old. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. I understand Tom Brady.
How far removed is he from his MVP season?
Well, I understand, but Tom Brady is the one phenomenon, so everyone thinks that they can quarterback into their 40s. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and realize that not everybody can play the game of football until they're 40.
Maybe we're putting the cart before the horse here. Maybe this is all going to amount to nothing. Because maybe it was all just bull plop, and he's not going anywhere. I doubt it.
He's not playing in a Packers uniform.
Maybe we're being a little bit trigger happy with this.
Okay, then let me throw out this question. I mean, we've seen what's happened with Deshaun Watson in Houston, at least before the legal troubles have come up with Deshaun. If Aaron Rodgers is not traded this offseason, does he hold out?
Yes.
I agree.
There's a pot. Yeah, he might.
He's not poor. He's not poor. So if
I hate to say it, because I remember how much we criticized when Le'Veon Bell did this and his production suffered. But I think Aaron Rodgers would be willing to sit out the 2021 season if it meant being a free agent.
The man has already won a Super Bowl. He's already made his 20 millions a year for the years he's played. He's not poor. He's not a guy who's in need of money. And you know what? It's like Terry Bradshaw said over the last week or so. If you don't want to play anymore, go host Jeopardy. Well, go ahead. Go host Jeopardy.
He has that bargaining chip. He has that bargaining chip.
Yeah, you got to say it like Terry. If you don't want to play anymore, why don't you just go host Jeopardy?
Like I get how Bradshaw is like pissed off and everything, but you know what? Like Nick said and we quoted in the intro, somehow that bargaining chip is actually realistic.
Somehow we're living in a reality where that's a viable option. I don't know whether the producers of Jeopardy are actually going to get roped into this. This would end up being a really, really hard Trivial Pursuit question a couple of years down the road. But
hey, worst comes to worst, let's revive Sports Jeopardy, and there you go.
Yeah, have him host that.
Well, we'll see what happens. But at the same time, Aaron Rodgers, and I'm making a blanket statement now, he is not going to be in a Packer uniform in the upcoming season. Okay? It's not going to happen.
I was going to, just to clarify, whether it's by trade or by holdout?
Either. Whatever it is. He's going to sit out, he's going to hold out, or he's going to be traded. Now, the Packers could do the effed up thing and say, we're trading you where we want and not give you any say in where you go whatsoever because we don't want to deal with your headache anymore. That's what could happen.
I mean, I was going to say, you can say that in the negative sense, but again, the Packers are going to want a significant haul from him. I think I actually would not blame them if they didn't listen to Aaron, like traded him out east somewhere in case somebody out east gives him like 2 first-round picks, running back, defensive help. You know, like I probably would not, be surprised if they got a significant haul from somebody in the east or somebody in the south, if they turn to Aaron and say, okay, screw you, Aaron.
I hate to open this can of worms, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh, no.
The Giants were one of those teams that were rumored as a place for him.
I don't believe it.
But what are the Giants going to give up?
That's the problem.
I was going to say, I'm sorry. I'm not giving up Leonard Williams for Aaron Rodgers. I'm not.
I don't know if I would. I'm not convinced on Danny, but I'm pretty sure the Packers aren't either.
Besides, again, the Giants need a quarterback of the future. Aaron Rodgers is the 2 or 3 year solution. He's not
and it's going to take a lot more than 2 or 3 years to fix to right this
team
again, to make sure it doesn't sink.
I'm going to trash on my own team because that would be a similar situation to when Brett Favre ended up in a Jet uniform for 2-3 years, whatever it was, and then he completely fell apart and ended up in a Vikings uniform because I'm sure the Packers really loved that because I think it was in the deal that if he got traded to the Vikings, like they had to forfeit a bunch of picks or whatever. Right. But
sending an unsolicited picture of his penis in between.
I feel really bad for that Jets employee, by the way.
I do. I really do. Jen Sturger did not deserve that.
Can I mention one more thing here before we move on? This was mentioned on one of the ESPN shows. Imagine if you're Jordan Love. Imagine you are taking a nap on draft day. You wake up and then you see your phone blowing up. Well, congratulations, Jordan. You just might be the starting quarterback of the Packers.
You just might be. It's a monkey paw situation. I want to start. Okay.
You can want to start all you want. It doesn't mean you're going to get it.
We will see. We shall see.
It's kind of very weird how, we had all this drama when Aaron Rodgers was taking over for Brett Favre, and now here we are over a decade later.
It's funny that you mentioned Brett Favre, because Brett Favre actually came out with a statement and said, and I'm kind of going off the top of my head, paraphrasing, where he basically said, in my gut, I don't think he's coming back. Hey, Brett, is that ironic that you think that since that happened to you with the Packers?
It's like rain on your winning day.
I'll go one step further. Not just the Packers, the whole NFL. I'm retired. Actually, you know what? I'm not retired. No, I'm going to retire. I'm not retired. I'm retired.
So use a semaphore. Use a semaphore at this point.
Yeah, basically. All right, let's talk some more drama. Let's move here to New York. Let's talk about the Mets.
All right, just to give some context on this, because this doesn't tell the whole story, even though this is the headline. The Mets, obviously, if you've been under a rock, Steve Cohen bought the Mets. He took them over. Every day's gonna be smiley faces and rainbows.
We're gonna acquire Francisco Lindor. We're gonna get all the big free agents we can get.
Well, kind of.
We're gonna support happiness.
So we start the season. I think they're now. Did they win the game yesterday in extra innings? I don't know.
Yes, they did on walk-off.
Okay, let me bring up their record. I
think they're 16 or 17.
I can double check you right now. They are 14-13. They are a game behind the Phillies in the East.
Okay, so I'm assuming Steve Cohen kind of hit the panic button, because at one point Francisco Lindor was 0 for 24 with no home runs, and all of a sudden,
and he got benched.
He got benched
for a couple of games.
Then he finally got a hit, 1 for 27, and he hits a home run, I think, against the Diamondbacks at Citi Field.
Against the Diamondbacks last night.
It's like that. It's like that song. We gotta hit. We gotta.
Exactly. But I mean, it's too early to tell whether this is going to actually have some kind of effect on them.
But you know what? At the same time, and I was talking to a friend about this the other day, a hitting coach
is not the one swinging the bat.
Thank you. Right. And I hate to say this, but the guy who's being paid $340 million needs to take responsibility for not hitting, not the hitting coach.
So, wait, are you saying that it was Francisco Lindor that wanted him gone, and that's why he's gone?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I don't know about that. He just got here. I don't think
he's the star. Nick, it doesn't matter. It's A-Rod syndrome all over again in New York.
I don't know. I mean, what? I think you seem to be, I don't. Go ahead.
I don't know if I can buy into that strategy, but I think firing Chili Davis like this early, I think that's a little ridiculous by the Mets.
This doesn't help. I mean, the Yankees did the same thing when they fired Kevin Long. I think in 20.
It wasn't that early.
2014,
Yeah, I was going to say, with Kevin Long, it wasn't exactly that
early.
Well,
you're talking about the George Steinbrenner old. He fired someone after like 16 or 17.
But that wasn't even George Stein. But again, firing the hitting coach doesn't make your hitters better.
That's my point. The guy swinging the bat is the guy who has to.
That's the point here.
Yeah, like that's the thing about Kevin Long. I mean, he was fired after the 2014 season. So, and he was there 7 years. Chili Davis.
I think it was his first season, wasn't it?
Let me double check here.
Or was it his second season?
Chili Davis, it's only his third season. He fired really early into his third season. And you just got a team. Well, first of all, I don't know how much you can hold last season, too, because there was only 60 games. And second of all, Chili Davis, again, this was his second full season, third season technically. And it's not like it's August or September and the Mets haven't made progress. It's May. You guys are in second place in the NL East. And, all of MLB hitting is right now is suffering. We're going to get into it, how basically it seems like it's the year of the pitcher right now. So
right.
To fire Chili Davis and throw him under the bus, I think is the wrong move by the Mets.
I'm sorry, as Nick would say, bing, 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 alert, as Nick would say, where Like, this is hitting the panic button. And I'm looking at the whole Mets organization as a whole with all the garbage they've gone through so far in the past year, whether it was the whole abuse situations or the whatever situations you want to call it. They can't control management situations if it bit them in the you-know-what.
And now we see it might be trickling down to the players when you consider what's happened last night between Francisco Lindor and who was it?
Not Jeff McNeil. That was
no, I think it was McNeil.
It was McNeil.
It was McNeil. Yeah.
I mean, they were in the midst of an argument, if you want to call it, and then it comes out that they were arguing over what a rat and a raccoon.
Apparently, there was some kind of animal in the tunnel.
Or possum. I'm sorry, considering the rat and raccoon are two different kinds of animals, far different, I kind of want to call BS on this.
Something tells me they were arguing about something more than animals.
Wait a minute. I think we have a new gate, Raccoon Gate.
Raccoon Gate. Or Possum Gate.
Or Rat Gate. We don't know.
Rat Gate works.
I mean, you think they were arguing about animals when they were arguing like animals.
There were a bunch of animals at this point.
Maybe they were clawing and scratching at each other. Hey,
well,
look at the rat.
I hate to say this though, but Steve Cohen is more of a fan than he is an owner of the Mets at this point, and he's not looking at this from a standpoint of, is it going to make the team better? I think he just had a reaction as a Met fan.
So the last thing we need is another reactionary like the kinds you get in sports talk radio.
Well, before we get into another reactionary owner, we do have one other baseball headline to talk about. A little breaking news over the last 24 hours or so. Albert Pujols' time in, well, we don't know if it's just the Angels or if it's Major League Baseball has come to an end. Well, Albert Pujols has been basically bought out by the Angels. He is now a free agent.
Well, it's the Angels because we're talking his career is still technically active. He wants to keep playing.
Right, but will he get it? We're confident he will. There will be a team out there that will give him a contract just because, but considering the fact that we don't know for certain, we don't know if this is just the Angels or if this is the end.
Let's talk money and numbers, okay? So,
right.
I'm choking over his numbers. I'm so upset. Anyway, he's been with the Angels for 9+ seasons. He basically has not improved the Angels, and I can say that because I'm going to give you a little test here, gentlemen. How many times have the Angels been to the playoffs in his 9+ seasons?
Just like Mike Trout's numbers, which is once, and they got swept by the Red Sox.
How many times has he been an All-Star?
It's nada.
None.
0.
Zilch.
So basically, and believe it or not, at the time, and people are going to think I'm crazy when I make this next statement, his 10-year, $254 million deal that he signed with the Angels, believe it or not, at the time, was a steal.
Context. You have to consider what the Angels had at the time. They just had gotten Mike Trout. They were a contender in the AL West. It was around the season before the season of where they got swept by the Red Sox in the playoffs. So you consider that the Angels were kind of on the up and up. And Albert Pujols, before he signed that contract, he and the Cardinals had just won their second World Series together.
So taking all of that into account, to where they were and where they are right now, the hitting is not the problem. I mean, he's not hitting well. That's why they released him. I think he was hitting
I don't think he's hit well in the past 5 or 6 seasons. Maybe even 7.
Like you said before we went on air, he had a good 2013 and 2014, and then after that he knows that.
First season
That's 8 years ago. That's 8 years ago.
So at a certain point,
sorry to interrupt, but we have these debates about these contracts and how exactly they don't pay off. But I don't think anyone predicted how early Albert was going to fall off the cliff.
Well, here's the first mistake.
You also didn't think that you would actually have to get pitching and not just have Shohei Ohtani and.
Here's the first mistake, and this is what a lot of teams do. Major League Baseball looks at the age of 29, 30, and 31 as the prime years, when in essence, that's actually not the time you want to sign somebody to a 10-year deal. And the Angels signed Albert Pujols to a 10-year deal at the age of 31.
So, in a sense,
at the end of the prime,
in essence, you get what you pay for, and what you paid for the decline,
right? Basically, the Angels went to the other teams in order to lock him up at the end of the prime because they thought within the first 2 or 3 seasons they were going to win a championship, and well, you know that secret base series collapse. Yeah, maybe the Angels should get an episode.
Okay, yeah, I think that is something that is definitely worth exploring. But in terms of what he can do now, going back to the Cardinals, I think is a good, at least go out with dignity.
The Angels obviously knew something because they offered him 10 years, $210 million. They obviously were not going to overdo the number. They knew something, obviously, so. What did Albert do? He obviously took the bigger number. At the same time, we had this debate before the episode. American League teams have the advantage on the steeper end of the careers because players can go and DH. Unlike in the National League, you can't DH. You have to play defense.
The problem with that is that even in the American League, he is a case in point of, not just his fielding ability wins, but his hitting ability as well. So, as much as the American League teams may have the advantage in the DH position, just a matter of, they could collapse very quickly in terms of their hitting average. And then it's like, maybe we do have to bench you to get somebody else in the DH just so that way, we get something going in the games.
Well, there was a report that he didn't want to be benched. Otherwise, he would have been with the team. He said, I want to start. Now, that's debatable. I don't think he's ever going to start anywhere.
I was going to say, I honestly, you want my honest opinion? For the last 4 or 5 years, he hasn't been startable.
No, absolutely not. The guy should have been on a bench for the last 4 or 5 seasons.
So, now where does he go? I'm actually going to disagree with the Cardinals' take. For the sentimental thing, like if this was his last season, I get it. But the Cardinals right now, first of all, they have Paul Goldschmidt at first base. They will not get rid of Paul Goldschmidt. I don't know if they're going to use a bench slot on him. The Cardinals are basically in the chase. Are they in the chase right now, I want to say, with the Brewers and the Cubs for the Central? Yeah, actually, they're in first place. Yeah. They're 2 games ahead of the Brewers. I don't think they need Albert Pujols. Now,
he's got to go to an American League team. That's where he's got to go.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know if that's necessarily a thing. You know where he needs to go to? A hitter-friendly ballpark. Because there's one thing about Albert Pujols. He has the closest odds of any player right now to reach 700 home runs. And I doubt we see that again for another 10 or 20 years. If that is the case, he needs to go to a hitter-friendly ballpark. Somebody actually on Twitter made the suggestion, and I kind of agree. I think Colorado is a great part because hitter-friendly ballpark. And what exactly are the Rockies doing? The Rockies are in free fall right now. You may as well get some sort of sideshow attraction, basically. Can he get to the 700 mark?
How many home runs is he off from 700? Do we know?
He is at 669 right now. So
he's not going to get there this season.
Yeah, 31. He's not going to get there, right? He's not going to get there this season.
Okay, but it goes without saying, maybe he takes a DH or a bench role in order to basically go to a hitter-friendly ballpark to try and get this feat. His career is set already, but, maybe since he's committed to playing the rest of the season, maybe one more, take the minimum or whatever, take that money, and just ride it out and see if you can get to that mark.
Yankee fans, don't hurt me. I'm going to say this anyway, but I did hear that rumor that he could end up in a Yankee.
I understand from the hitter's park perspective, but the fact is that Mike Ford at first base, plus Luke Voigt's coming back, plus DJ LeMahieu can play anywhere in the infield. I don't think we need Albert.
And the And the Yankees don't need a millionth DH for crying out loud already.
And we don't need to throw. We don't need to throw money at Albert Pujols. When I was gonna say, we would say that Giancarlo Stanton has the kind of role, but Giancarlo Stanton actually is hitting the ball pretty hard.
He's carrying this team on his back. That's the screwed up part.
But the Yankees,
actually, Aaron Judge might be the better comparison right now.
Oh, right. God.
But I was going to say the Yankees might actually say $500,000. That's chump
That's
change.
the only thing we've seen that with the Yankees before. I mean, they did that to make Troy Tulowitzki's dream of being a Yankee come true.
And
look what happened. He got hurt. He got hurt.
Yeah, and then his leg exploded, like I just said.
All right, let's talk about another crappy owner. Let's stay in New York. I cannot believe. Well, we're going to have hockey as a headline here, and this is not in the way I wanted it to happen.
Okay, can I say something? Because I know you guys are more the hockey people, but I need to say, so I saw this clip on Twitter come out, and it's all viral all over the place. I posted it to
the Brooksy column, the Larry Brooks column.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the hit that Tom Wilson put at the end of that pile.
Oh, okay, we're going with the first one, on Artemi Panarin, the sucker punch. It was a sucker punch. Quiet.
And I'm like, and I know Tom Wilson just because you hear the name all the time and you see what he's done. And I made the comment in the promo, if you guys saw it yesterday, where I said Tom Wilson is kind of turning into the Dennis Rodman of the NHL, where he's dirty and doesn't give a crap what he does to people. And it kind of makes sense if you look at it.
So we have the sucker punch. And basically, the NHL only fines him $50,000. Was it $5,000? $5,000, and they argue maximum punishment we can give under the CBA.
Are you kidding me? $5,000 fine? That I can
complete, utter, total, and definitive horse shit.
I can tell you right now that most of those NHL stars could reach into their pocket and pull that out of their wallet at this point.
Yep.
Most people in the NHL can play that. They can pay that salary.
You want me honest? We talk about the crap minor league pay in MLB. Those minor leaguers could pull that out. Minor leaguers
can pay that.
Well,
not one game was he suspended. Not one game. Not one game. And he basically he gave Todd Bertuzzi a run for his money. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No, I might be showing my ignorance as an NHL fan. Well, or not NHL fan. But isn't it true that more things are gotten away with in the NHL because the NHL is considered the tough sport?
But the problem you have with Tom here. But the problem you have with Tom Wilson, you just admitted it and said it yourself. He has a history of this.
Oh yeah, I see the viral clips all the time. Every time he's punching and kicking people.
Are you waiting for him to cut somebody's throat with the edge of his skate? What are you doing?
I will tell you why he didn't get suspended. Because the Capitals are a playoff team. Because the NHL has all this controversy and now everybody's talking about it. The ratings are, going to be everybody was exploding the next game when the Rangers and Capitals ended up in that massive brawling within the first period. So that's why he didn't get suspended. I'm telling you, that's why.
But that's what I don't get. And that's why I was asking. Like, the NHL is considered the tough guy sport. And I mean that in a sincere way. I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. If you look at the NBA and you look at Major League Baseball and NFL, those are fake tough guy sports. The NHL is the real tough guy sport.
Nick, there is a difference between running somebody into the board and getting into a fight and to stand up for your teammate.
Agreed.
Sucker punching somebody from behind.
Sucker punching somebody from behind and landing on them without a helmet on.
For the hockey fans who don't know, when Nick mentions Todd Bertuzzi, this was like over a decade ago where Todd Bertuzzi ended up sucking and punching a player from behind. He went down on the floor unconscious, had to be basically hospitalized. Bertuzzi got in so much trouble.
That was Tampa, right?
That was the Avs, I think.
No, Colorado. Yeah, it was Colorado. And basically, Todd Bertuzzi, I'm flat out say it, Todd Bertuzzi could have been charged with assault.
He could have been charged with assault. Or if he had died, he could have been charged with manslaughter, for God's sake.
But wait a minute. The problem with the NHL is that because they allow all this fighting on on the rink or on the ice, and they do all this physical play. We see people get teeth knocked out, and they end up
physical play and sucker punching somebody from behind are two.
No, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm just saying that the NHL is known for its tough reputation. So at times, I'll tell you right now, if someone got sucker punched in the NBA or Major League Baseball, and we saw it with a Mets-Phillies brawl last week, we saw guys get fined, not suspended, but those are more overreaction sports than the NHL is.
You know, on this show, we often debate who the worst commissioner is in North American sports. Gary Bettman, I think, with this whole debacle, has just shot himself, at least not at the top of the list,
so
near the top.
Let's get to the statement, because let's get to the statement. So the Rangers release a statement, basically, you know, I was going to say, let me pull the statement up. Just for the fact.
While you're doing that, I have another question. So the next day, because I think they played back-to-back games, right?
Yes.
So all of a sudden, the Rangers decide, all right, put them up. We're gonna cause a fight, and 6 players, 3 on each side, end up in the penalty box with 100+ penalty minutes.
Nick, again, it goes to the culture of hockey, and that when something like this happens the next day, usually a fight happens right away.
If you don't nip it in the bud, it's going to escalate.
But that's any sport.
But it tends to escalate within multiples of 3.
Yeah, but 100+ penalty minutes? What the heck?
I know, it's something that you don't normally see. It is something you don't normally see. So, here is the statement here. The New York Rangers are extremely disappointed that Capitals forward Tom Wilson was not suspended for his horrifying act of violence last night at Madison Square Garden. Wilson is a repeat offender with a long history of these type of acts, and we find it shocking that the NHL and their Department of Player Safety failed to take the appropriate action and suspend him immediately. And here's the final statement, the final sentence of that statement. We view this as a dereliction of duty by NHL head of player safety, George Parros, and believe he is unfit to continue in his role.
All right. I think that's a little overreaction, but I understand, and I forgot the part of the statement that you said, but I think we're calling it a act of violence, I think, is a little over the top, but at the same time, I agree that it breaks the rules and he should have been suspended, but I wouldn't call it an act of violence.
See, going after George Parros and only George Parros, I think is a bit.
So I was going to say. So let's get into that. So that last part of the statement caused a lot of
consternation.
Yeah. So the Rangers end up getting fined $250,000. And
because of that statement,
wait a minute, whoa. They got fined $250,000 for what?
For the statement,
for making that statement and impugning the integrity of George Parros.
Wait a minute. So who does the NHL think they are? The NBA?
Yes,
Gary. Yes, Gary Bettman. Everybody, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but this is how it is.
Oh,
so and then
I had Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is not cheering on a metaphorical knife fight.
Wait a minute.
Between the players.
Wait a minute. I don't need an Adam Silver too. Okay, I don't need ridiculous fines going out because someone wanted to voice their opinion. I have this. This is not just the NHL. I'm talking about every league. Teams are allowed to be upset when their players are effed with and they get hurt. Okay, it's not fair to fine them because they have an opinion that they could lose their play that they spend millions of dollars on.
I was say, and I get it. Artemi Panarin and the Rangers, they weren't going anywhere for the rest of the season. There was only a few games left, but come on, that's utterly ridiculous. And I'll actually take it one step further because it's kind of effed up that the Rangers are being perceived as the bad guy when Tom Wilson sucker punched somebody from behind and has a history of this kind of stuff. So I'll go one step further. I don't think just George Parros should have lost his job for this thing. I was saying, you're calling on Gary Bettman's head. You know that what that means? There's a third person whose head needs to be go after. Donald Fair, the NHLPA head. Because you know what this reminds me of? I'd say this is 2 different fields, but kind of connected in a way. Guys, do you remember how we would talk about the Astros all the time and the trash banging? And we would say, how the Astros, the slap on the wrist isn't fair to the other players. And we talk about the role of the MLBPA of protecting players. Kind of the same thing here. It's like, so you're going to protect Tom Wilson and the NHL and all the playoffs and all the ratings when Artemi Panarin was sucker punched from behind and had to be helped off the ice. Are you kidding me?
I think this is a little different, though, and I'll tell you why I think it's different than the Astros. First of all, you have, if they call it violence, I call it just an act of physical. I don't know what you want to call it, just an act of physical where you're hitting somebody. The Astros were just cheating and using signs. It's a little different. But when you're hitting somebody, you're going after somebody and threatening them physically, that's a whole different situation you have to look into.
But that goes to my point of the Players Association is supposed to protect all players, not just your stars.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's every league. Of course they're going to protect the stars over the derelicts down at the bottom.
So now the Rangers, I'd say, end up the next day shocking the whole hockey world and fire Glen Sather, the general manager, and their president of hockey operations, John Davidson, who just got here a few years ago after the Rangers released the letter. If you guys know the letter that I'm talking about in 2018.
Committing to the rebuild and saying it was going to take time, but they were going to build a contender. Now, they've lucked into, let's be honest, high draft picks, and they've got a core worth building around in Capo Caco and in Alexis Lafreniere.
I'd say last year they did get to the playoffs technically because of the COVID situation.
Because of the shortened season.
But let's talk about this season. So this season, yes, the Rangers didn't make the playoffs. But remember, all of the restructuring that happened because of COVID and everything, they got to be forced into a division with the Penguins, the Caps, the Bruins, the Islanders, all legitimate contenders. And they finished right now, well, I think they're playing their final game today. But right now, through 55 games, they have 58 points. So it's either going to be 58, 59, or 60 points. Just, I'd say just like a little less than 10 points out or 10 points exactly from the Islanders for that fourth spot. Like they were one spot away from making the playoffs. That's not bad. That's terrific. The rebuild is going great. So you are telling me, because I don't believe, I'd say, so James Dolan basically was like, he's not impressed. He wants to see more from this team. First of all, 3 years is not enough time to say, okay, we need to be a contender right now. Second of all, I don't buy that this is about that. I buy that this is about the considers that it's about this statement. And I'm sorry, Nick, as Mr. NBA, that last thing about how he went, that last sentence of the statement where they went after the guy, you're telling me that Dolan didn't have a role in that? James.
Come
Dolan.
on.
No, Dolan definitely had a role in this. Dolan reminds me of Mark Cuban, where Mark Cuban has his hands in everything.
It was the common wisdom that he didn't mess around with the Rangers. He let them do what they wanted to do.
And then he messed with the Knicks.
But that's a lie, because we know that in the Knicks organization where he kept saying, I'm going to let Phil Jackson run everything. Obviously, that's not the case, because eventually he had to go in and fire his ass. So
First of all, how in unholy hell are you talking about the culture problem with the Rangers and fire JD and Glen Sather and not fire David Quinn? All the problems that you could trace back to this season were because of David Quinn.
I was going to say, I'm not a David Quinn hater, but if you're telling, because his role is kind of to teach because they have a young team, but if you tell me that he stays, but Glen Sather and John Davidson, it's not right. You can't tell me Quinn's going to go. You need to go. I say, if you're going to fire Glen Sather and John Davidson, you got to burn the.
And I'm not a Glen Sather fan. I don't like a lot of his moves, but what JD was building was something worth.
And JD is one of the most beloved figures of the Rangers, if not all of hockey. This was his dream job, and he was doing a damn good job of it. And you're going to fire him now?
Yeah, but you have to remember,
Nick, come on. You're going to tell me you're going to throw away 3 years of successful rebuild over this one stupid statement.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say that sometimes being the good guy and sometimes being a success is not always enough.
But Nick, this was the rebuild's going well.
No. I'm not.
Where results.
I'm not disagreeing.
It was the team that you were building.
No, I was going to say you're dealing with a dysfunctional owner. That was my point.
Well, evidently, yes.
Oh, and by the way, you want to talk about how you want the big stars, because I guess he's going to pull what's going on with the Knicks. And guess what? I'm buying into the thing that Julius Randle will somehow get traded in the offseason until I see that he's in a Knicks uniform.
All right, let's pump the brakes. We don't have the Knicks on the.
Okay, but guess what? I'll say you're going to talk about all the cap space the Rangers supposedly have. Let's go a little by the numbers here. So within this next coming season, you still have that $6.5 million contract that you paid Chris Kreider through near the end of this decade. Let's see here. No, give me a second here. So, you're still paying $1.5 million for Kevin Shattenkirk next year.
And if you haven't noticed, he's not on the team anymore.
You're still paying over $1 million for Dan Girardi next year, and
he retired.
So, I was gonna say, and for this season, actually, I don't know if he has anything for next year. But right now, you're still paying the $1.5 million for Henrik Lundqvist. What cap space do you have for these big stars?
What do you think? Do you think that Connor McDavid is just going to be thrown at you?
And guess what? And unless you're trading Chris Kreider, and I don't know what team is going to take that $6.5 million contract when the likes of Lafreniere and Kakko are going ahead of him. What cap space do you have?
Well, what do you expect to accomplish? And it's not that I don't like Chris Drury. Of course, Chris Drury.
Right, Chris Drury is cool. Chris Drury is cool. Mark Messier, if he joins up, I love Messier.
I don't think he would want to be a part of this, though.
The one thing I will say, as we get to the end of this topic, it reminds me of SpongeBob, and I know people are going to be like, "Why SpongeBob?"
Why?
And it reminds me of that scene in one of the episodes where Squidward is completely homeless and he's living out of a box and he's holding out spare change, ma'am. Spare change.
But does that clip not solidify James Dolan as whenever he has salary cap issues?
He thinks he's the football playing king in space, but he's actually just a hobo.
So and by the way, if you do trade Chris Kreider, you know what this will be? This will be another situation in New York sports like we didn't sign blank from OBJ, in this case Kreider, just to trade him.
You know what? Instead of we didn't start the fire, it's going to be we didn't sign the All-Star.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right. Let's go for these next three topics really quick. Some small stuff here. So, Angel Hernandez is at it again, gentlemen.
So, context is necessary. So, he was blinded by the scoreboard?
Well, so here's what happened. So, it was a fly ball in the Kansas City-Cleveland game. The ball goes off the scoreboard. It happened to be that the scoreboard had white on the scoreboard. Whoever did that is an idiot, by the way, putting white on a scoreboard when the baseball is white. But
are you talking about what happened in the Kansas City-Cleveland game?
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. And basically, they thought that the ball was caught, but in essence, it bounced off the scoreboard and into the glove. And of course, if you look at the infield, and I posted that clip on our Twitter account, and it literally shows the umpire.
If you saw the replay, it was clear as day.
No, but the umpires in the infield, no one signaled out or safe whatsoever. So all the the bases were loaded, I think.
All the base runners got confused.
Yeah, they didn't know what happened because none of the umpires are saying what happened. So it's like that State Farm commercial. Did anybody get that? Let's just do the hand signal to make sure they got it.
It reminded me of, what was it? Sweet Georgia Brown. And like everyone's running around in a circle, just like with what's going on. And of course, who's the crew chief of the umpires that day?
Angel Hernandez.
So literally you see Angel Hernandez like waving his arms, trying to explain everything. And I feel like now it's a constant Twitter trend when Angel Hernandez is umpiring.
But if you're the Umpires Association, you're Rob Manfred and the Players Association, how do you not take action by this point?
Yeah, well, how much more bad publicity are you going to stand?
Well, unless you're Angel Hernandez and you blame Joe Torre for race issues for not being in a World Series game.
There is no more perfect distillation of the problems with Angel Hernandez with the statement that MLB put out No, we're not discriminating against him because he's race. We're discriminating against him because
he sucks.
Well, or he's blind. One of the two.
All right. So, and then we had an incident outside.
The blind people.
Not. Jesus.
We had an incident then in the Mets-Phillies game that did not involve Angel Hernandez, in which they couldn't figure out if a ball had gone over the wall or not, technically, if it had crossed the line.
This call they got right. This call they actually got right.
They actually got right. And I had friends who are Phillies fans going absolutely ape, you know what, over the fact
tell your friend that he's delusional as a Philly fan, which by the way is going nowhere this year. So
those are the rules. If you've been to Citizens Bank Park, the dimensions of it are kind of weird. That you can't. I've been there too.
I have too.
Weird. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a cool ballpark, by the way.
It's a great ballpark, and the fans are absolutely fantastic.
Just be careful because was that Yankee Stadium against the Phillies, or was that Philly with Cliff Lee's wife spin on? Oh, okay.
Yankee Stadium.
Speaking of pitchers, credit to John Means and Wade Miley this week for pitching no-hitters. We're up to 4 no-hitters this year.
Wow.
And the Indians have been no-hit twice so far, and it's May 8th.
So congratulations to John to John Means and to Orioles fans because they're not that good, and now you have something to cheer about.
John Means deserves so much better. He
does. He really does.
And by the way, we almost had a 5th yesterday, 2 in one day, because Wade Miley got his yesterday. Sean Manaea almost had a no-hitter, even a perfect game yesterday.
And he's already had a no-hitter in his career.
Yeah.
Now,
has that ever happened where there have been
2 no-hitters on the same day? I don't know.
Yes, I think
I think they had to have been.
Many years ago. But I'm getting tired.
But this is the year of the pitcher.
Oh, 2016. The Dodgers and A's.
Yeah. Dueling no-hitters. I remember that.
No, but the problem I have here, and like I told the guys beforehand, I was listening to a lot of sports talk radio over the last couple of days, and people are complaining, if you don't like baseball, then shut up and don't have an opinion. It's basically the shut up and dribble.
I'm sorry, but if I want to call out Rob Manfred because the extra inning rules, like the man on second base, are stupid as all hell, I'm going to say
it's my God-given right as an American to not like it.
I mean, they hung up on that person anyway, so it didn't matter. But you know what? Major League Baseball is suffering, okay? We're talking about how everyone's trying to hit the home run and nobody is putting the ball into play. This is going to be the year of the pitcher. I mean, I look at my fantasy baseball teams all the time. 188 average, 200 average, 220, 230. I kind of like pitchers' duels, though. I used to not like pitchers' duels. I actually do.
I do too.
I do too.
And think about the aces that we have in DeGrom's doing great.
Oh, and
Cole was throwing bullets out there.
And by the way, if everybody wants to complain about pace of play and everything, pitchers' duels make the game go shorter. So
they do. So what's the problem here?
Unless you're striking out a bunch of batters.
If you like pitching, you're in for a treat.
Unless you're striking out a bunch of batters, then it takes forever.
Yeah.
Okay, one final topic here, and I hate the fact that we have to talk about it.
Yay!
All right. So
combat sports is struck again.
I hate, gentlemen, I hate what boxing is becoming. I really, really do.
Wait a minute. I need to say something ironic.
When did it turn from sideshow to freak show?
The celebrity boxing aspect, that sideshow aspect, is becoming the main thing in boxing.
I need to say something here because I thought my statement was completely idiotic when I was making the statement about Ocho Cinco and OBJ. I didn't think it was actually going to come out in irony, and we were going to see him on a undercard for what was it, Logan Paul?
Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul.
I didn't think it was actually going to come out in irony, as Nick would say.
So Chad Ochocinco, aka Chad Johnson, is going to compete in a boxing match. Now, it's not going to be a professional fight. At least we don't think it's probably going to be a fight against another celebrity or another athlete. There'll be an exhibition.
So the opening of Rocky 3.
Well, yeah.
No. The opening of Rocky 3 strikes again.
I need to say one thing quickly. Did anyone else see the ridiculous thing between Jake Paul and Floyd Mayweather?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So Floyd Mayweather and Logan
Got your
Paul,
hat! Got your hat! Got your hat!
they had a press conference yesterday to mark 1 month left before their fight. Jake Paul had the idea, if you saw the TikTok, to go up to Mayweather, confront him, and basically at the end of it, Jake Paul was saying, "Oh, I'll call Al Heyman. We can have a fight." Mayweather's like, "I don't need Al Heyman to fight you." And Jake Paul basically grabbed Mayweather's hat and, like you said, got your hat like a little kid at recess on the playground bullying another kid. And then you see all the heavies get involved. You see Floyd Mayweather landing a few good hooks on Jake Paul.
He said he wanted to kill him at one point.
Jake Paul looked absolutely disheveled at the end of his TikTok, if you didn't see that.
What did you think was going to happen?
I hate everything about boxing right now. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
We're only a hop, skip, and a jump away from. That's right, the amazing Saturday night matinee. We are actually going to have Logan Paul fight an enraged elephant. Step right up and witness the majesty.
Just be careful, because if the elephant wins, they might stick a peanut up his Oh, okay, I'm not going to finish that statement.
Oh God!
But you know what?
Imagine that it had gone further. What happened? What happened, Logan? That son of a bitch took my nose.
Well, wait a minute. It's going to be Mike Tyson all over again.
Oh God! Yeah, but it's not going to be. But it's not going to be a bite of the year. It's going to be a wet willy.
Oh. Like I said.
Oh no! It's the atomic wedgie.
Instead of Paul, it's going to be a pole.
If that's the case, if this is the case of the childness that they're going to, why not just make it a professional wrestling match? Floyd Mayweather once competed at WrestleMania against Big Show, Paul White. I think they could have.
Why not?
Vince McMahon would be all for it.
No, God, I'd rather see.
Let's see if we could find the NWO, put them back together, and just shove them in the ring.
I'd rather see them bear wrestling than doing actual wrestling or
arm wrestling.
Arm wrestling.
Arm wrestling.
Over the top.
Who gives a crap about arm wrestling?
There's a championship that used to air every year on ESPN.
Yeah, used to. Keywords.
I don't know if it still does. Maybe ESPN Plus airs it. Or ESPN 8 the Ocho. All right.
Oh, God.
That's enough. All right. So that's going to do it for us. Make sure to follow us here and subscribe to us here on Twitch. Make sure to like and follow us across social media at ETP Sports, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. All our Twitters, our personal Twitters are down below as well. All right. That's going to do it for us. So for Nick Videra and Nick Morganson, I'm Tom Albano. We'll see you next week. Until then, take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.